Prince Kwame was the only son of King Zulu of Nyame Kingdom. He grew up the apple of his parents' eyes, having everything he ever needs: the care of a tender and loving mother, Queen Zaza, and the friendship and protection of a powerful father, King Zulu. He was known for his infectious laughter that could brighten even the darkest day. At 18, his joy was unmatched, spreading happiness to all who crossed his path. His laughter was often described as the music that resonated through the palace halls, symbolizing the vibrant soul of his mother, Queen Zaza, who had raised him to appreciate and savor the beauty of life. The bond between Kwame and his mother, Zaza, was unbreakable. She had not only been his loving and caring mother, but also his greatest confidant and supporter. They share many things together, from heartfelt conversations in the palace gardens to moments of playful mischiefs that ended in laughter. Queen Zaza, on her own part, had the gift of finding joy in life's simplest moments, a gift she passed on to her son. But one day, the kingdom was plunged into sorrow. Queen Zaza fell gravely ill, and despite the efforts of the kingdom's finest healers, she passed away. Her loss cast a shadow over the whole Nyame kingdom, and the palace that was once filled with joy and laughter became a sober place of mourning. For Prince Kwame, the loss was devastating. The joy and laughter that had defined him disappeared, replaced by a heavy silence. He withdrew from his friends and family. The happiness that once came easily became far-fetched. The young prince, once full of life, now moved through the palace like a ghost of his real self. The kingdom of Nyame felt the loss of the prince's laughter as deeply as the loss of their queen. Prince Kwame's joy and happiness, which was once a pillar of strength to the people of Nyame, was now gone, and the people of Nyame desperately wanted to see his laughter come back. The King Zulu did all within his power to make sure his son's joy and laughter came back. He first engaged in different conversations with Kwame. "Kwame, my son," the king began. "It's been 2 years now," the queen passed on. "Her spirit would not be happy to still see you like this. Get up and get back to you, to whom you used to be, my son. I miss those days when we were happy and full of laughter." Prince Kwame nodded slowly, tears running down his pale cheeks. "I will try, father," came his humble reply. But those words did not work the magic the king expected. The king intensified on his approach. He employed jesters to perform for him every week, the clowns too, and the royal musicians. As the clowns and jesters performed, others seated in the palace would laugh heartily, but the prince's face remained pale, and nothing seemed to have moved him. 6 years later, the palace warmed up in anticipation to the coronation of the prince on his 24th birthday. It was a day according to the traditions when the prince is to take a bride. Months away to the prince's birthday, the worried king called for a council meeting. He consulted the healers and the wise men of the kingdom. "I have done all within my power," the worried king narrated, "to see that my son, my only son Kwame, laughs again. But all efforts have gone to the wind." A lot of counsel were made before it was concluded on what steps the king should take. The village town criers were sent for to make an announcement the next day. The Prince Kwame of Zulu Kingdom is to be coronated in the next 7 market days. To this effect, all the maidens are summoned. Anyone who could make the prince laugh again will be his chosen bride. She will become the princess of Nyame Kingdom and will live in the palace. Many young maidens of Zulu Kingdom were intrigued with the idea. Just make the prince laugh, and you become a princess. A lot of the maidens showed interest and went to the palace to enroll in the competition. Amongst them were Ada, Akudo, Amara, and many other maidens. All the girls were in the competition to make the Prince Kwame laugh and to win his heart. Amara was strikingly beautiful, with a sharp wit and a commanding presence. But beneath her charm lay a streak of impatience and arrogance that alienated those around her. Amara doesn't truly care about the feelings of others. Amara knew that her usual demeanor wouldn't appeal to the prince, so she devised a plan. She would disguise her true self and present herself as cheerful, kind, and compassionate. She even began to learn how to make others laugh. She practiced making a funny face in the mirror, rehearsed compliments, and even started helping all the elderly people she sees around. Ada and Akudo, on their own parts, were relentless. They practiced different dance steps, smiling, shaking their heads, and making funny faces as they danced. Many other girls practiced very hard at making the prince laugh. They all are hopeful that they are going to win the contest and become the prince's bride. Amongst them was Ifoma, a young medical student who came from the neighboring village of Akataka. She heard the story of the prince who would not laugh for 6 years and decided to participate in the contest. Ifoma was kind but mischievous. She wanted to experiment with so many things firsthand. She therefore enrolled into the contest not because she desired to marry the prince, but because she wanted to prove an experiment. A month before the prince's birthday, the day arrived for the contest. All the contestants lined up and took their turn trying to make the prince laugh. The queue was so long that the organizers had to extend the contest for 3 days. When it was Amara's turn, she practiced all her tactics. She spoke sweetly to the prince and came over to touch his hand. But the prince gave her a baffling look. She then went to the stage, practicing all the funny faces she had been practicing. But the prince looked on in horror. When her time was over, it was obvious that Amara had failed. Many of the audience, including the prince, were horrified at her performance. As soon as Amara left the stage, she was so furious that she landed a dirty slap on one of the organizers backstage. The organizer was trying to tell her to go outside in order to allow other contestants come in, but she landed him a dirty slap. Then came Ada's turn. Ada was more than determined to win the award. She danced wildly, throwing herself up and down. She shook her face as she danced and swayed her hips from side to side. Ada was not a girl to give up so easily. She continued to dance, sweating profusely. Even when the bell rang, indicating that her time was up, she continued to dance. It wasn't until 2 hefty bodyguards came to carry her off stage that she understood the meaning of "time's up." She screamed in anger as the 2 hefty bodyguards lifted her and carried her out of the hall. This made many of the guests to laugh, but the prince's face remained adamantly pale. Finally, it was Ifoma's turn. She went straight to the prince and opened a cover pet bottle, and immediately everyone, including the prince, started laughing. They laughed and laughed that even the photographers containing the moment of the laughter were also laughing. The laughing king rushed over to his son and was laughing wildly as he hugged him. It was a moment King Zulu will never forget. It was magical, but the laughing soon subsided as he held onto Ifoma. "You have made both me and my son and all the audience laugh. This is unbelievable." Without a waste of time, the king set a royal crown on Ifoma's head. "I have found a bride for the future king of Nyame Kingdom." The guests were thrown into jubilation as Ifoma protested the new development. "It wasn't any magic," Ifoma confessed. "It's a laughing gas. I just came here for an experiment, nothing more. I don't want to marry the prince." But the Prince Kwame was smiling at Ifoma. For the first time, he was seeing a character that was that of his mother's kind, inquisitive and mischievous. He smiled all the way to the stage. "Yes, you came here for an experiment, but fate made it so that I will find you." So that was the story of how Prince Kwame began to smile again. With each passing day, he drew closer to Ifoma as he found in her someone who is as mischievous as himself. Ifeoma too began to see the prince in a new light and finally agreed to marry him. 2 years later, Ifeoma became a doctor, and together with Prince Kwame, they built a hospital and a therapy center where people are treated both for their physical and mental wellness. Hey viewers, hope you enjoyed this amazing tale. Please share your thoughts with us and kindly subscribe as we load you with lots of amazing tales at African Tales by Oma.